Isha, would you like to talk on it first?
Uh, it basically means that when no person will be compelled to be a witness against himself is a very fundamental principle of criminal law. Because what happens is a lot of times in practice, a person can be made to become a witness against themselves just by torture in the police station, etc. So in a sense this is a constitutional protection that has been given to the people of India, that they cannot be tortured or compelled into uh, admitting guilt, because that was a very routine practice and it continues to be, I would say. That is why whenever somebody wants to make a confession, they are produced before the court, and only before the court do they make a confession. So it's basically providing protection to the citizens and people in India from self incrimination. That in essence is that you have protection against self incrimination. You cannot be forced to become a witness against yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that is what this is Article 20 of the Constitution, and which very clearly says, also
Yeah,
23
20.
says, no person accused of any offense shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. So you cannot force a person. And in fact, that is the reason any statement taken in the police station is never valid in the court of law till the time it is in front of a magistrate. So it is basically to avoid
And in
custodial
fact, I'll
torture
tell you
and force a
something very
person.
interesting. A few laws, like if I'm not wrong, I remember learning this in an internship, like the Maharashtra Control Organized Crimes Act, etc., or extreme terror laws. In that, confession is allowed before a senior police officer. And this is a rare exception. It's such an exception that a lot of terror laws have been struck down, and these aspects are considered unconstitutional because when you when you allow confession to be made to a police officer, there is a presumption that this confession is a forced one. It has been extracted from the person by using force, torture, intimidation, etc. So so definitely, in a sense, it's connected to custody, that this is the protection that you get when you're in custody, that anything that is said in custody cannot be held against you in court.
Yeah, so that protect you from custodial torture, because police may try to falsely implicate you, and that is why we have the principle of check and balances, that the courts are there to protect you and you're not totally at the mercy of the police. So that is what it is. And also it talks of that you cannot be subject to a penalty greater than which might have been inflicted under the law. So if it is some offense for which they are charging you and the punishment says for 3 years, so they cannot make it 5 years. So these are basically the checks which the judiciary has prescribed, and that's a part of your fundamental right. Then DK Basu guidelines
Yeah,
shall
I
come.
think
Yes.
DK Basu guidelines is very important even for prelims this year or mains. I will be quite surprised if they don't ask about it, because DK Basu is so integral to the issue of torture, and custodial killings and torture have finally come up in mainstream discourse this year with your Jairaj and Bennick's killing, with Vikas Dubey's encounter. So please, DK Basu guidelines, I think you all should be very well versed with. These are polity, current affairs subjects that you need to know. And I think,
Very true. I think Rishu says I've made notes from people's lawyer. Yes, we have discussed custodial deaths over there. In fact, UAPA was
yeah,
also very well discussed by us in the people's lawyer.
I think
So,
UAPA is
in
another.
fact, somebody has said that please make videos on certain subjects. So you give us an idea or what subjects are relevant per se, so we can make short videos for
If
you.
you have if you have doubts about certain issues, then I think we could make a video covering that
And we
particular
will put it on video.
issue.
Yeah.
But let's come to what we're here for today, which is discussing art and culture and ancient and medieval history. The reason we're clubbing all of this is together, it's pretty obvious that it's too interconnected to be studied separately. Ancient medieval should be studied in a flow because you understand it better. And art and culture, I think, for instance, if you do old NCRTs or even Tamil Nadu for that matter, you will see that there's a lot in there that overlaps with the culture you're studying. And a lot of questions that UPSC asks from these areas is taken directly from maybe your NCRTs instead of, let's say, Nitin Singhania or your class 11 NCRT. So coming to sources,
I think NCRT, yes, NCRT you must. Huh? This is the NCRT, and
so
it's easy to read. The advantage of NCRT is that you get a fair idea in your mind. So even when you have to deduce age, area, contemporary, or whether which period it belongs to, how it went. So NCRT will be an easy reading. I think 2 to 3 times if you just flick through it, because it's ultimately an exam of elimination, coming down to the right answer. So if you have a fair idea, it will help you in coming to a conclusion.
yeah, but in terms of sources, we discussed yesterday. So, something I already told you that even in history, art, and culture, you need to prioritize. Modern history comes on top because the likelihood of you being able to answer most of modern history questions is higher than that of ancient, medieval, and art and culture. And Ronaldo has done uh, yeah, he has done breakups. I put the links in our video of yesterday, so go check it out. How much is from modern and how much is from ancient, how much is from medieval. He's done a detailed breakup, so I think just go there. But this year, for instance, culture and religion, 5 questions were asked. Ancient and medieval, 4 questions were asked. So that's a lot. In the past they would say medieval se kuch nahi aata, but I'm seeing that in the last few years UPSC has started asking from medieval history as well, and which means you can't leave it. I would still say put this below geography, polity, economy, and environment, because I think these 4 areas are very scoring, so it should be on your fingertips. Jogo, polity, economy, environment, and modern history. If you can even master these subjects, of course, you have your own strengths and weaknesses, taking that into account. I think this will help you clear the cutoff very easily. So, below this, let's say you put your ancient medieval art and culture. In this, your sources, keep it limited. We discussed this yesterday. There's way too much to study and to remember for you to be able to read way too much. And I personally think Nitin Singhania is great for prelims, even though ma'am said NCRT, and NCRT also questions are asked. Again, with respect to prelims, you can't, there's always going to be a cost benefit. There will be questions that will come from the NCRT, and if you haven't studied, you're going to lose out. But on the whole, it's always intelligent to take one source, do it well. It's a risk. So I think Nitin Singhania is really good because there's enough information out here. Oh no, not at all. Don't. Oh, all red words. Yeah, I think red words are mostly important, at least from a prelims perspective. But of course, there may be words here and there. But I think Nitin Singhania is very vast. You don't need to go into detail. You just need to pick out what are important points. We discussed this yesterday as well, and there are important points that you, if you study well, you'll recognize, and if you've done the past year papers, you'll understand that this is where UPSC asks. Like, for instance, martial arts in India. UPSC asks a lot about martial arts. So you should know Thangta is where, Sarit Sarak is where, or where is the Thoda dance from. All these things, I think you need to know which regions these dances come from, etc. Nitin Singhania, I think, has covered a lot of it. With Nitin Singhania, again, past year questions are a very useful source because UPSC repeats questions. It picks up from here and there. So in past year questions, I mean, there are a lot, and I think it's an amazing repository for ancient, medieval, and art and culture. So you should pick up the past year questions, look at the answers, and oh. most important chapters of Nitin. Okay, yeah, that's true. Even in Nitin, there are you have to be selective about what are the chapters that you focus on. Personally, I focused on chapter one, architecture. That's very important. In fact, to the extent that I had done a bare reading of it from fine arts as well. You don't have to, but I just felt like it was such an important chapter, and this gives you a good perspective on the entire thing if Nitin Singhania has left out anything. But mostly, I think Nitin Singhania is comprehensive. So, chapter one, chapter two, Indian paintings. Here, prehistoric paintings. I just had a look from the class 11 NCRT. Handicrafts, UNESCO list of tangible World Heritage Sites, etc. Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, 8. So, puppetry you must do, that goes without saying. I think circus is something you can skip, not relevant. Um, List of intangible cultural heritage, you should get an idea. Languages is very important. Religions is very important. Without fail, they ask Jainism, Buddhism every year in some form or the other. Most times you will not be able to answer it because it's so difficult. But sometimes, if you've read well enough, and I think especially given how much focus they place on Jainism and Buddhism and Bhakti movement, these are things that you should make a point to read from elsewhere as well, like a Wikipedia Googling, or if there is, yeah, I think a greater Wikipedia Googling would help. And if a coaching institute has taken out something just with respect to two, three topics, but if you can't do it, it's fine. Like, don't stress yourself over it. Even better than all of this is looking at past year questions and seeing what are the areas in Jainism and Buddhism that UPSC focuses on and asks questions from. So I think that's a very scoring aspect that you should always take into account. Indian literature is important and schools of philosophy is important. Indian cinema is not important. I think science and technology through the ages is important because you never know. Uh, I never checked a government website. I know they talk a lot about going to this I forgot the name of the website, but Ministry of Culture's website, I think. But I saw it, I found it very complicated, and there was just too much, and I was like, it's not worth it. It's a cost benefit analysis for four questions of art and culture. Studying so much, it makes no sense. For four questions, at max do Nitin Singhania. And like we told you, I think in our first day, that even when you do Nitin Singhania, do it towards the beginning and do it towards the end. Don't waste too much time only on art and culture. It's just not worth it. I think it's a very, yield is very less. Like, cost benefit is very poor. So, but do science and technology because I think that's important. It will help you in mains as well. Calendars you can have a look at because I remember looking at past year questions and UPSC had them like they have asked once or twice. You can look at fairs and festivals. Awards and honors are not that important. Just have a basic idea of Padma Shri, etc., but nothing in detail. Like, please don't go down that route where you need to know who got which award, etc. That's absolutely unnecessary. Law and culture, I don't think is important. Martial art, I think, is important. Cultural institutions in India is not an important chapter, in my opinion. You can maybe have a little bit of a look at it. I've for instance, look at Sahitya Academy, Lalit Kala Academy. Maybe just have a bare idea, but again, these are not chapters I think you need to focus on, even for prelims. In the appendix, I would say Delhi, all of this is not. Bhakti Sufi is very important. In the index, I would say Bhakti Sufi is very important. Even within these chapters, you need to be intelligent. Like, I'm just going to be honest, and just from an exam perspective, they barely ask Zoroastrianism, they barely ask Judaism. Christianity, they won't ask that much, but they do ask Sikhism, they may ask Islam, they may ask Sufi in particular. Sufi becomes very important. So, even within chapters, be selective, which I keep saying only if you have passed your papers, you'll know what are the areas you need to focus on. You have a strategy or trick for match the following type questions in art and culture. Can you give me an example? Because uh, Anyway, so this is 1 second. Let me just finish with respect to Nitin Singhania. This is it. I don't think, I think this, I remember, when I started preparing, there was this one question they asked on Bodhisattva, and I traced it down to this book. One picture out here, which, was where UPSC picked it up from, and then I thought, oh my god, I should do this as well. But I don't think it's worth it, and then I discarded it towards the end. I didn't do it, but at the same time, there are good things in the class 11 NCRT. I will give it credit for. For instance, if you look at this map of Indus Valley sites, although you have it in your Tamil Nadu textbook as well, but this is part of ancient history. So maybe it's in your old NCRT, but this is important because this year they asked which of the following is not a site of Indus Valley civilization. So if you had a fair idea of what this map looked like, you could have gotten those 2 marks. So these are things, but this is part of ancient history as well. So these are basics that you need to know. With respect to your ancient medieval sources, I don't think there's much I can tell you. You have to make that decision, but take one, do it well. I think ancient medieval again is not worth the amount of ratification that you do for the kind of marks that you get in return is not worth it. So always keep it low on your priority. Focus on the other topics that I think are more rewarding, but don't neglect it. Don't neglect it because every mark counts, but don't get obsessive about this. That's why I think I don't have much to tell you on this. But with respect to answering questions in culture, like I said, same for modern history, but more so for things like culture and ancient medieval, elimination becomes very important because sometimes they put in random dances you've not heard of with dances that you may have heard of in Nitin Singhania. So I remember, for instance, in the 2018 paper, there is something with respect to. See, for instance, I had no idea about this. And if you see, I've done a complete analysis of past year papers and I've written here leave. If they ask you craft, Puthukuli shawls, Tamil Nadu, Sujni embroidery, Maharashtra, Upara Jamdani saris, Karnataka. This I had it in I never came across this in my syllabus. So I just said these are questions that I need to leave. If in my mind I want to attempt around 90, I've given myself scope for 10 questions that I'm going to leave because I think it's better to leave those questions than to mindlessly answer and get those negative marks. So these are questions that you leave, but I think again for elimination, go to Manish Agarwal's YouTube because I think Sir in his analysis has done a fantastic job and of explaining how to eliminate. So I don't think I'm the best person right now because I haven't done that heavy an analysis. I just followed his, whatever he told us. I just did that.
I
Uh,
think sociology notes, what you are asking, we can do it one of the days. So first we'll just finish the syllabus for prelims and
But with respect to sociology notes, I'm going to be honest, I didn't
mm,
have notes. I think if you have Nitin Sangwan, then Nitin
and
Sangwan,
Harold Lombus.
yeah,
Yeah,
Harold
because
Lombus
I
for
also
an
had
understanding because
sociology.
I don't think you can understand
No,
from
but
Nitin
sociology
Sangwan.
will guide you separately because there are others who are also there and they would not be interested. So one to one, we can do sociology with you because even I had sociology and I scored almost 350. At that time, the paper would be of 600 marks. So in my second paper out of 300, I had scored almost 200. So how to make sociology notes? We can just do it one to one and. Yeah, 350 exactly,
See,
and then I'll tell you how to write. But that's why I'm saying for prelims like art and culture, I finally, when there were just 25 days left, I told Lisha, let's leave art and culture because maximum one or two questions will come and now you'll be wasting more time on these issues. So that is why I feel that since you need to get 105, 95 to 105 is the cutoff. So you just see that certain chapters should be done thoroughly. Like polity, you are going to get 15 to 20 questions. So please do your polity well. Your freedom movement, you will get minimum 10 questions. So do that thoroughly. So you should know that very clearly. And yeah, art and culture gives more tension, very true, because we also got very tensed, and that is why I told her ki, let's drop art and culture rather than wasting time on art and culture. Let us do something where we will get assured marks, and that is a polity, national movement, even geography. Geography is one paper where you know that you will get around 8 to 10 questions, your tiger reserves, your river sources, from where they, so those things are,
Yeah,
dependable.
those are way more dependable.
So prelims
But
is,
like you're asking, I want to say this whole, for instance, Bani Thani, because I had done Nitin Singhania, I was like, okay, these are questions I can answer. Bani Thani is Kishangarh school. These are things you'll know. So these are questions that are throwaway questions that if you've done Nitin Singhania, you can get the marks. But if you've not done it, you won't get those marks. So always approach prelims as understand that most of you are going to be referring to the same sources. So but understand not everybody studies and applies what they've studied from these sources equally well. So at least with respect to the common sources, you need to be better than the rest. That's the aim. That because prelims is a very relative exam, it depends not just on your performance but also on performance of others. So let's say most people do Nitin Singhania. So you know that Nitin Singhania, if they ask, then I can, yeah, that if they if sorry about that. Yeah, that if they ask from Nitin Singhania, then you should be able to answer it, because then at least you're not below the competition. At least you're making that average. And then I would say in subjects like polity, environment, etc., you should take that extra leap and become better than the rest. So
yeah, exactly. This is the art of clearing an exam,
yeah,
and that's what
these
I'm
are
saying.
things that you should
You,
just break
uh,
even, that you don't do worse than average. Like if this is how this is the average, your performance should not be here. Just to ensure, because you just need to be here to clear prelims. So by just studying one source for ancient, medieval, and art and culture, you can just ensure that you're not doing worse than most of the aspirant pool.
yeah, you also like Dheeraj, very true. Art and culture, finally, in the last 20 days, we left it and we went on all dependable topics which we knew will get us marks. So that is why people are appearing 3 times, 4 times, and they don't clear prelims because they study so much. And when it comes to actual paper, they mess up. So at least for myself, I cleared prelims every time that I appeared, and because I had limited amount of books to read from.
So see, now you asked me, so I was just looking for it. Um, if you look at Chapchar there was this question in 2018, Chapchar Festival, Mizoram, Khongjom Parba Ballad, Manipur, Thangta dance, Sikkim. So now what happens is, if you know Thangta, see, this is how you ask for a trick. There aren't tricks as much as I would say. This is how you apply knowledge from different sources. So Thangta dance, Sikkim is wrong. So the moment you take out three, you only have two options left, one and two. So you have to make the decision between these two. Now, if you've done past year papers, like I keep telling you, UPSC, I remember, has asked in the past on one of these. So you have an idea about two. And once you have an idea about two, it becomes more easy to eliminate and come to the right answer. That's why I say do your past year papers and then do these basic sources. But in the exam, apply your mind, because applying your mind is what UPSC is expecting from you. Don't fail on that count. I think that is the most important, and I think that is where a lot of people fail. They may say, I knew this but I couldn't mark it in the exam, and that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. So just study it well, go there, use elimination technique. Culture, you have to do that, because they ask really random things.
But you're very right, only one or two questions are asked. So
It's
for
not
one or two questions, it's
four,
not worth
five.
it. 4, 5. So
But let's say this year, for instance, around 10 questions were asked from art, culture, ancient, medieval. So you can't leave it also. You can only put it low on your list
low
of
on your list.
priorities.
First finish others and then do whatever time is left. Do these things. So be thorough with your polity because you're going to get 20 questions from there, 10 questions from national movement. freedom movement 30, and I think from geography it would be 10, from
Geography
environment
is very scoring,
geography is very scoring.
amazing. Please do like geography very well. Um, your
Biosphere reserves,
Yeah,
tiger
and
reserves,
with
keep
respect to
mugging them up.
economic survey, I just did the Vision IS summaries. Never fall into the trap of quantity. In fact, the intelligent person is that who studies less but studies it well. We keep saying that. So you don't need to read the entire economic survey. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I'm just telling you an honest fact. You need to pick up a summary and then you need to know it well. Vision, I think Vision economic survey is enough.
Prelims is all about knowing it well, not a generalist study. You
Yeah.
have to be able to recollect because it's all about ticking. You have to answer the question there. So you can't keep guessing. So either you know or you don't know. So you have to be thorough.
Yeah, and if you do have the time, I would say just have a look at post independence India as well. UPSC may ask one question, again, poor cost benefit analysis, but just so that, giving a clear picture that I think they ask sometimes post independence, but I don't think it's worth it because you can always put that effort into polity, his modern history, environment, economy, etc. Science and technology also I think is very scoring because mostly they ask current affairs. So if you do your PT 365 really well for science and technology and you have a look at the past year question papers, I think you can really score there as well, even if you're not from a humanities background. So that's all that I have to share with you guys, that we have to share with you guys with respect to this. Uh, how many chances of exam on 4th October? I mean, I wouldn't know. I think UPSC is unpredictable. They like to be that way. It's best to not guess what UPSC is thinking. But since they did conduct the interviews, which got over yesterday, I doubt that they will postpone the exam.
I think the exam will happen on
Yeah.
4th October because she rightly says that the interviews are over. And the very fact that they conducted the interviews, they have finished the medical, and the exam should be, results should be out by 10th August. So, in fact, they are saying 5th August. So, if exam results are going to be out by, so you prepare for 4th October. Now is the
Listen,
time
guys,
you start
now don't
studying.
think about will it get postponed or not. Now just give it, even if it gets postponed, it will get postponed by 15 days or 1 month max. So it's not worth it. Now don't, I think UPSC is not, they also hate postponing. It's something UPSC absolutely hates to do, and they will only do it if they are pushed to the wall. So I think you shouldn't, just now focus as if your exam is going to be on the 4th. Law optional strategy, sure, I can help you out with that. We can do that next week. But I don't know why you're worried about law optional right now, because you have
No, maybe
prelims,
his
or
preparation of
maybe you're
prelims is good. So
or
we can
maybe he's
do. So then
preparing
we
next year.
can do one thing. On Saturday we
Yeah.
do law option, and on Sunday we do sociology. So we could do that.
No, we can
Huh.
do optional on one day, we can
Okay.
tackle
So
it.
yeah. So we can do on Saturday we do sociology and law.
Yeah,
So we
because
do
I
the
think,
option.
yeah, with respect to, I'll just tell you what the sources are, how you should study, and
Okay. So then Mohit,
yeah.
Saturday we do law option and also sociology. We'll tell you.
Yeah, because somebody out here was asking for socio. We'll help you with socio as well.
So law and sociology we'll do on Saturday, so that Sunday we can do geography. Because I remember we really worked on geography, and Isha got a lot of questions from geography. So that would be what it would be. Okay. So be thorough. Ultimately, it's about how much you practice, but practice like the questions that come from UPSC, not from different sources which demoralize you. Don't get demoralized that you don't know anything. When you start attempting the exam, whatever you studied seriously, you will start recollecting. So don't panic. This exam is all about maintaining your cool till the end.
And have that confidence key, even if I don't know enough, I'm going to attempt it very confidently. Because a lot of people don't know, but they attempt it confidently. And I always approach prelims thinking that some answers are there in the exam only. If you smartly eliminate, then you can reach a good chunk of answers. So you need to be absolutely cool in the exam hall, because UPSC also throws marks for, I always feel intelligent people. If you can apply your knowledge or eliminate correctly, then there are marks to be gained from the exam.
And one more thing I would like to tell you, just remember this, that there will be nobody who will know all the questions.
You will
And
not know
max,
more than 60%.
there will be nobody who will know more than 60% of the questions. Because when I came out, and I remember my days, and I said, oh, I could do barely 50 out of 150. I think it used to be that time 150 questions from GS. I could do 50. Max people would have done 70. So just be mentally prepared that maximum people would know 60% of the questions. So if you know 50%, you get your call. And ultimately, it's an exam of elimination. You need to get clear the prelims. So don't panic on that, and everybody would be in the same boat where you are. Only thing is, what you are reading, read thoroughly, and remember. If you remember, like certain topics like speaker, president, 10th schedule, 7th schedule, all these are the things which are current. So this is July. So whatever has happened in July, you should be very thorough, because August. After that, September will not be reflecting in your prelims, but till August, whatever is current may come in your prelims.
Yeah.
So read the paper and just keep an eye on what is happening. So whatever is there in the paper may be asked from you. So maybe even like culture, sari, all that would be there in the paper also. So keep reading your newspaper for the current affairs.
Yeah. But like I said, also PT 365 has a culture booklet. Do that. Don't waste your time too much on this. Focus on areas where you'll get marks. Focus on modern history, and the little you do, do it well. I think that's all for this
Yeah.
week.
Okay. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
good luck. Study
Study
hard.
hard and don't lose hope, but be consistent. This exam is all about consistency. You get up in the morning, get ready, start reading. You're having your lunch, just like you're consistent with your food, be consistent with your studies. And whoever doesn't lose heart is going to get through.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.